Since the 1930s, UTPGE has been helping families establish their tradition of higher education. For over 80 years, we've worked hard to help our graduates become the very finest petroleum engineers and responsible energy professionals.
We are a family that has been in the oil business through really 4 generations. I was raised, of course, in the oil fields. I went through high school in Longview, Texas during the last boom. And in the summer times and then on the weekends, I would be out with the crews. I got out of high school in the middle of the Depression, and I went for 2 years to NTAC at Arlington. And when I went to North Texas Agriculture College to get an engineering degree, I didn't go to get a petroleum engineering degree because I didn't know what a petroleum engineering degree was. But while I was there, I became acquainted with petroleum engineering through Bill Murray, and he encouraged me to go down to university, and he registered me in the petroleum engineering department.
After graduating from the University of Texas, I was with Shell. I'd worked as an intern for a summer before I graduated with Shell Oil. I was in Abilene at that time, and whenever I graduated, I came to Midland with Shell Oil Company.
My first class, my first semester of my freshman year, I had Dr. Cottle and a Mr. Biggs that taught the introduction to petroleum engineering. And it was after that class that I decided for certain that I was going to go into petroleum engineering and not another type of engineering.
There was more than one professor I thought a lot of while I was there. I went through, I thought they had some great professors. Jensen, Dr. Jensen, I believe was his name. He taught, I took a couple of classes from him, and he had had some experience, as I remember, in the industry, and so it wasn't just book. I mean, he brought the experiences that he had within the industry to the class. And of course, I remember Dr. Cottle. Also, he made an impression on me. It was obvious, again, you had a gentleman that brought reservoir experience, because he'd been in the industry whenever I was there. He'd come from the industry into the classroom. And so there isn't any doubt, again, you had that classroom or industry experience that you saw in the classroom. And so that's very important, in my opinion.
At UTPGE, we always emphasize the fundamentals. Not just the fundamentals of science and engineering, but also the fundamentals of hard work and dedication.
I am pleased, very pleased, that Richard Dick has a degree in petroleum engineering.
In my sophomore year, I transferred to the University of Texas in 1978 and entered into the School of Petroleum Engineering, and loved it ever since. Graduated in 1981, went to work for Texas Oil and Gas, TXO Production, and Texas Oil and Gas told me you get to do everything, from drilling a well to completing the well to hooking up, putting it down the sales line. So had a great time with them. We drilled more wells in 81 and 82 than any other company in the United States. It was very busy. In 83 or 84, I quit Texas Oil and Gas and went to work for the family at that time, and so I got a lot of experience in a quick time. I had 2 great mentors. My dad, of course, who I just admired so much growing up in the oil and gas business. His partner, Bill Murray, who I viewed as a second father to me.
I mean, really helped out with the professors having experience and working in the industry beforehand. So really Dr. Balmer was one of my favorite professors, and I had Dr. Gray too.
Dr. Gray was there when I was there. And Paul Balmer was working on his doctorate, and his brother Pete was a couple of years older than me. We had a very, very close-knit group. The old Plummer Hall had a 4th floor attic that we had access to, and I think everybody in the class had the key to get into the hall. And we would meet up there, and we would study together, we would party together, we would. It was almost like we lived together. And this was in the days before you had study groups and stuff. Dad had always taught me, he said, you can work for somebody and you may be real happy in that type of job. And a lot of people are. He said, he had started on his own, and I look back, thank goodness I had his help and his guidance. Because if I had to do it strictly on my own, it's a very scary step. My plan was to go out and work for a major oil company for 2 or 3 years, then work for a medium-sized independent, and then go on my own. And in 10 years, I was going to be on my own. Dad and I looked around at what we wanted to do, and he was in a position to help me out. We actually moved out of his office of his company and moved into 2 other offices. He gave me the big office. He said, "You're going to be the boss." And he said, "I'm taking the small office and I want to read the newspaper." And we started soliciting clients as a consulting firm. But we basically went out and looked for the work ourselves.
Every generation makes its own mark. And today, UTPGE graduates are setting the pace in job creation, economic growth, and energy security for Texas and for America. Today, just as in the past, UTPGE alumni are changing the world.
I can remember three specific professors at UT that had a tremendous impact on me. Dr. Caudill, obviously, production engineering. Pat Biggs, well logging. The signature of Pat Biggs was you'd walk in, and we'd do it on purpose sometimes just to get the response from him. You walked in his class with a cap on, he would shut it all down right then. He'd say, "Take that cap off, Tiger." And you took your cap off or he didn't continue. So obviously we would have to egg him on a little bit. We'd hear about it on Friday afternoons in the park too. He'd get on us about it. And then obviously Dr. Lake, Reservoir Engineering. And Mitchell had Dr. Lake as well. So 20 years after I was there, Dr. Lake is still impacting kids' lives, and my son had him. That's pretty neat.
I think one of the main things you take away from it is a work ethic and I guess the ability to make decisions and the way to think. I mean, you learn the basics, and then at the same time, you learn how to attack a problem, and those two things I think is what really sets you apart whenever you go to work.
We've got a long-term view. I have a long-term view, and maybe I don't want to be here 10 years from now running it day to day, but I want Mitchell and Logan to be here 10 years from now running it day to day. So to be able to build something significant, build something meaningful, and to leave it for my kids and their kids, and something long-term, that's exciting to me. It's a special individual that wants to go do petroleum engineering, and it's a wise individual who wants to do it at UT, I think.
I mean, there are a lot of us out there, a lot of us in executive positions. There are a lot of us that are entrepreneurs that had their own businesses. And look at Corey Lance is working now with Chuck Farmer. And there are a lot of people there are a lot of graduates that are working for major oil companies that are doing great things. And when you tell them that you're from the University of Texas, it just kind of locks you together.
Well, it's been a fun run, as a matter of fact, and to have a grandson that's in the same industry, and he gets excited about it. He comes, and so the three of us can sit down and we talk about what's going on in the industry. That is a lot of fun. It can't be any more fun than that.
Just exciting to follow the tradition and to actually, when we graduate, and we can relate to what they're doing and actually be able to talk to them about it, and they can watch us grow in the professional world, and we'll always have somebody to fall back on to actually question that you can trust, and
it's neat that we get to go through the same experiences they did. I mean, our grandfather was here, to our father was here, to us now, and our mother was here too. It's just kind of a long family tradition that's great to continue.
Today, as in the past, our alumni are changing the world.